Hey yo, what's going on, all my gamers, all my Honkai Star Rail gamers? So, 2.3 just got released, but today I wanted to slow it down and just go back to 2.2 and talk about the story. I wanted to talk about the good and the bad about about Honkai Star Rail's 2.2 story. So, first I want to get into the bad because there is some bad things about this story, but it's it's not as terrible as you would say. There's not as much like detrimental problems with this story that would just really take someone out of it too much. But there is the one thing that first and foremost I feel like a lot of people will agree is a bad thing. They talk way too much. Now this is a story. Now the story is, you go into it because they're gonna talk. There's not much combat that goes on except for when there's boss fights and stuff like that. But still, it feels like they're just talking constantly, and a lot of it is a whole lot of nothing. There is so much dialogue blow in this. It is actually insane. I legitimately had to start skipping dialogues because I never would have gone through a lot of it. In fact, I actually had to do this in two separate videos. I did one in one video and then I did another one in a stream because it was just going to take way too long and the video was just going to be way too big. So I ended up having to do it in a video. But I will say that they could have just taken out they could have taken out half the dialogue and like a lot of it, the point would have still gotten across, and I feel like the story would have been just as good. It seems like they better, in my opinion, they better have paid those VAs per the word because, man, there was a lot of words being said, and that comes into my next problem is that the story at some points got way too convoluted and way too complicated. I feel like I wasn't following a lot of it, right? So I would stop paying attention for maybe half a second and it was gone. That was it. Whatever that last part of the story that I was talking about, or whatever they were talking about, that's gone, bro. That I'm never getting that point back. That is gone forever, and I'll never see it again. But another problem is I feel like it changes POVs way too much, and never the POVs of things that I want. So it kept going back to it goes back to Acheron's POV a few times as well in the story, and it gives us. I don't know. It felt like it gave us nothing. It was just so weird and convoluted to have all these different POVs of stuff that I felt like wasn't that detrimental, but it might just be me. I might just be dumb and not following along because I'm small brained or something. It just felt kind of weird because I wanted to, at some point, Robin goes off, and I'm not, whether this is answered in 2.3, I won't know because 2.3 just got released and I haven't the story. So if it is answered in 2.3, I won't count it. I won't count it for this video. There's a point in the story in which Firefly helps you. How does she help you? Who knows? Firefly is just gone. She just leaves, and all of a sudden you get the benefit of whatever she did. I couldn't tell you what she did, whether it's answered at 2.3, which I hope so. It's not there. I felt like they should have done what they did with Dan Heng in the Xian show, where they switched to POV to Firefly, and I felt like that would have been better. I also felt like they should have done that for Robin at some points, but I think they only did that in 2.1. So, I don't know. I felt like these things were definitely things that were against the story, but they're not problems that were too detrimental in which you won't like the story, which will now get into the good of the story. I felt like the story was actually written very well. I had a great time going through I felt like some points were very good. Some points were bad, but a lot of the story was pretty good. I felt like it was a really fun story, especially once you get into Pentaconi's Got Talent. That part's kind of funny, but then I want to talk about specifically what's good about the story, and I think it's Sunday. I believe Sunday is actually a really good villain. I think something that makes a villain really, really good and really well written is a villain that you kind of see their perspective. You see where they're coming from and you can believe them. Like you can get behind the words that they're saying. I think Sunday is not just crazed like what's his name? Like Scar from Wuthering Waves. Now I'm not gonna compare the stories or anything like that, but I'm just, that I'm giving an example of another good villain who has a different kind of archetype. He's Scar's kind of like crazy and all over the and like psychotic and all that, and Sunday is more um frighteningly calm, and you could see why he's doing what he's doing and where he really went, where everything went wrong for him and where he went astray. But when he talks, you kind of want to believe him. You want to believe in him, and I think at some point they say that he's like a natural born leader, and I can really get behind it. I think they're right, and maybe Sunday did nothing wrong. I don't know, but that would lead us into the next part is Sunday's boss fight. I think Sunday's boss fight is pretty good. It's one of those weekly boss fights. It's not going to be too hard. But what I do love is I think that Honkai Star Rail has this down pat, and where the music and incorporating the music in like a grandstand boss fight, it's unmatched. So at one point, spoiler alert, by the way, I mean this whole video is a spoiler, so you probably already know about that. Robin comes and helps you in the fight, and so the music first starts off down. If you guys listen to the Robin album, you'll know the song. It'll start in an instrumental and then slowly it builds up to the end, the finale at the end where you can hear Robin singing. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna sound like a bitch, but it actually did make me emotional and get me tear-eyed and choked up when Robin and Sunday had their moment during the boss fight, right when Robin starts singing. I loved it. I thought it was amazing. I think Star Rail has this down pat, especially with like the first fight against Cochlea. I think the music, the way it drops with that song, I think that's amazing. They did it again this time with Robin, and I thought it would have been great. I kind of wish they had giving you Robin herself to play as like, as a loan. They could have loaned it out. I was gonna say maybe they should have loaned out Firefly, but I don't believe Firefly. I mean, Firefly was probably not even in the game files as a playable character in 2.2. So I'm not gonna count that against them. Still, amazing boss fight, amazing music. It was very climactic, and there was also like kind of a plot twist at some point where it seemed where they really used the dream to their advantage. Is like, oh, guess what, you guys beat the boss. Oh no, you didn't. Surprise, bitch. Genjutsu or something. It was pretty sick actually. I was like, this boss fight seems way too easy and everything seems to be going way too well, and I was right. Turns out you were still in the dream, and you eventually woke up. Later they did reveal a big thing with Acheron being Raiden May. And so in the credits, if you guys paid attention when they did the credits the second time they rolled it, it's just Acheron as Raiden May. That's pretty cool. I love that little detail. But I think this was a great story. I had a fun time with it, and especially my absolute favorite times is when Bussy Hill was on the story and he just got in there and was a cowboy and he was like, well, fork me. I don't know why I love doing that voice. It's my favorite voice to do. I love doing my Bussy Hill impression. Well, aren't you a son of a nice lady? Anyways, I better get going. I wanted to wrap this up and say, pretty good story. I think I'd give it a solid 8.2 out of 10. If they took out the bloat, it would definitely be a 9, but they just talk way too much. But it's only gonna knock it off just a bit. I still love the story. I hope you guys love the story. Anyways, Comment, like, and subscribe. We're heading off into 2.3. I will review that when I do it. I hope I do not do it at the end of the patch like I did this time. Anyways, comment, like, and subscribe, and I will catch you gamers in the next one. Bye.